Welcome back to the channel. What we're looking at here is a large batch of nickel oxyhydroxide. I used 80 grams of nickel sulfate and 80 grams of sodium hydroxide to make the nickel hydroxide first. I had it in 2 containers, 2 of these. I split the amount and made the nickel hydroxide first, washed it and cleaned it. Left it in solution after. I use this hose as a siphoning hose and I wait for it to settle and I siphon off the waste product and then re-clean it. I've just been using tap water. There's a couple of mosquitoes in it. That's still jelly like, but it will evaporate down to hardly anything, I'd imagine, because the 30 grams worth only gets 10 grams of nickel hydroxide out of it. Oh, and also after the nickel hydroxide was made, I put 100 mils of bleach into the solution and had it on the stirrer for a while, which forms the nickel oxyhydroxide. I had a little test batch, which I thought was a real lot, but it's only a little fraction of that stuff. It dries right out to nothing. But this one was the contaminated stuff, which I did that electroplating in, which failed because it wasn't nickel. So waiting for that to dry. While waiting for the nickel oxyhydroxide to form and make, I've been plating these. This is air conditioner filter. It's very coarse. I'd prefer a coarser one. It's still too a bit fine. It's only like about 3 mil thick. You can sort of see right through it. It's non-conductive, so you have to actually paint it with the conductive ink. And then it takes 21 hours of copper plating at 100 milliamps on both sides, but you can speed that up by having copper electrode on one side and a copper electrode on the other side, as I've got for this nickel one. Running 2 nickel electrodes now for plating the nickel onto it. Just a quick look. It's retained. It's not going to do its justice. Can't zoom in. Oh yeah, there we go. I'll put it under the scope. It's gone actually through the whole cell, the whole material. It is plated. It's just hard to see with this little thing. So I'll actually put it under the scope and check it right out. That's where the alligator clip was. You have to like leave it out of the liquid. See, it forms those bubbles. If you don't copper plate it, this one here, oops. Now that's had 40 hours. That was just the conductive ink and straight into the nickel. And it started forming this maybe nickel oxide. I don't think it's nickel oxyhydroxide, but it does sink down to the bottom, this white greenish material. It reacts at the boundary layer of the electrolyte with oxygen. So that's why I think it might be nickel oxide. And it forms rapidly and produces a fair bit. So that was 40 hours and all you can see is a few traces of nickel plating. That's why it's better to copper plate it first. So that's done both sides. So total hours here, 29 hours worth of plating, 8 hours of nickel plating and 21 of copper plating. But if you to buy the nickel sponge, piece this big is $100. So this is a probably cheaper alternative, yet to find out. I'll be assembling this onto the new pads. Which held up really good. This is the old material I use. It scrapes off, but it gave me an idea. I could probably carbon coat it, straight up just nickel plate it, and then we could flake the nickel. That way we can get nickel flakes with carbon attached to it. as an additive in our materials as well to increase the conductivity of the nickel oxyhydroxide. Maybe, it's only a guess. This one's had copper on it, so I won't use this stuff. And it just rolls up, doesn't stick to that plastic or whatever it is. It's a very hard plastic. But this other new stuff, that works great. I'm going to plate this little piece, yeah. That's that weave plastic rubber stuff. That turns out alright. So I'm still a couple of weeks away from making a battery. The old plates are still holding up. The copper at the top, the electrolytes leaking up into that. That's that cell we had originally. So I'll get back later this week and film this under the microscope. So I've only got that little microscope, USB one. But that should be interesting to see. We should be able to get all the way through it. And you can sort of, you can see holes through it. So it's not too bad. It's pretty porous. Surface area should be high. Bit overplating there. That won't really matter too much. I'm pretty sure it's completely plated. But we'll check that right out with the microscope, so we'll get back. This is the nickel oxyhydroxide a week after it was last filmed. Well, that last clip I showed you. And it's dropping down now, heaps. It actually holds a lot of liquid. That will dry out to probably around about 30 grams. So you can see the volume of it. While it's still holding liquid, it's soft because I marked it there with a little stick. So you're watching another week. It's probably going to take another week to dry. Yeah, you see how much that will shrink down to. Okay, what we're looking at is a close-up view of the surface of that sponge that was coated with nickel. I don't know how good that's coming out on the camera. So I'll just move it along. You can see, if I keep that still, there's a good view of it, sort of, if it's sort of, it's not that clear. See how the gullies are sort of blocked? So it does block some of the pauses through, and then you can sort of maybe see black. I got it on a white piece of paper, so we should really see no black sort of stuff, but I'm not sure about the lighting, if it reflects out or not. So a quick look over the surface, and I zoom right in. I'll just focus it up. And that's zoomed right in with the scope touching the surface and adjusting. So you can see the webbing inside. It looks like it's pretty coated with some spaces through it, so that should increase surface area. The brown stuff may be copper still. See how it's got a slight different colour. There's some really fine strings in there of plastic, like there. I think it's not totally covered, maybe. Might be light reflecting. That's sort of got more blockage. Oh, that was the piece of paper. There's half paper and half the edge. You actually can see that white paper through there, I think. Okay, so So now we'll try the rubber matting, which is coated, which probably turns out better, because if you overlap a couple of them, you're going to have good surface area and conductivity. They're all like 0.6 ohms from one end to the other, just randomly pressing on the multimeter. So we'll check that one out under the scope. To make them, it is a lot quicker. So the white stuff in the holes is the... I should put some black there. Put it on top of that thing. Now the black is the holes. That's the surface of the rubber coated. So discoloration down in the joint there maybe needs more plating. Or the plate might oxidize too after plating. It does change colour, I've noticed. And we'll check the other side of it. I think one side's bumpy and one side's smooth. There's some cracks in it, so it does crack. I think those are cracks from bending it. So you've got to be careful when moving it around. Fracture them. So it's mainly intact. And a further away view. Those things you see is the other cell underneath it. Those black darker regions, they're actually big gullies. So it's coated around everything pretty well. They don't take as long as those felt pads carbonize. And I think in the end they're probably going to be better, but we'll have to prove it yet. So I'll make 2 variants of the cell. So it looks like a bone structure. And that's the other cell under it. You can see where this one's over the top of that one. And we'll check out the plastic coated nickel plates, see what they look like. Get rid of them. Okay, so that's the surface of that plated plate. So it looks like it's probably going to have good surface area, because of all those little nicks and valleys. Down here is where the lumpy bits are. Change the angle. Alright, now I've lost it. Alright, there, we got detail back. So just moving across the electrode. Okay, alright, and we'll look at the felt where I never copper coated it. Look at the bits on the glass, little freckles of dust and stuff. And So this piece of felt was just painted with conductive ink and sort of submerged in the nickel acetate. It's a bit hard to see what's plated and what's not. I think the green looking stuff. Does it look green to you? That sort of stuff in there might not be coated, or it is coated. Well, actually under the microscope, majority of it does look coated anyway. That actually might still be good, but the conductivity isn't very high on this one. Well, let's just look at what the matting looks like without anything, just the conductive ink. So this one's conductive ink only on the felt. Okay, there you go. So what we're looking at is the conductive ink. There's all those shiny spots reflecting. So now we'll see if we can, what it looks like. Hang on, I'll just on a plain non-coated. Alright, just had to cut a piece. So non-coated felt, non-conductive it is. Oh, hang on, I'll do a comparison. We'll put one next to the other. Alright, the coated one's on the right side. In a minute. Alright, we can see a join. I'll put a gap in there, it's hard to see. Alright, there's the gap. Alright, the one on the right's coated. And the one on the left is not coated. So the pauses look blocked in there anyway. Or is it the wrong way around? Hang on. Is it back to front on camera? I'll put a tweezers. Where's the tweezers? Ah, there's the tweezers. Now I can't find the gap. Right, there's the gap. Tweezers. Aha! Non-coated is on the right side of the screen, and coated is on the left. Alright, so the coating is blocking most of the pauses, and not the plating. So I have to sort of bring it out more, so scanning over here, which is the coated one. With just conductive ink. Which has still got a lot of surface area, but it's only 34 ohms from end to end in resistance on that thing after being coated. Nothing registers even on high values with the uncoated. So coating works, but not as conductive as electroplating. Alright, so I'll post this little snippet of video, and thanks for watching.